Hello everyone, and welcome to today's presentation. I'm excited to share insights on why this news case is a must-learn for students, faculty, and industry stakeholders alike. Today, we'll explore how fintech funding cycles reveal the crucial roles of policy clarity, risk perception, and investor confidence. These elements directly influence capital flows, valuations, and business expansion models, especially in emerging markets like India. Our discussion is based on the recent publication, Funding Ledger 2025, Why VCs Are Suddenly Pouring Money Back into Indian Fintechs, released on December 3, 2025. So, over the next few slides, we'll delve into what's driving this renewed investor interest and what it means for the broader financial landscape. Let's get started. Let's take a closer look at the current funding landscape. Skydo is in negotiations for a substantial investment, ranging between $8 and $10 million. Meanwhile, DMI Finance is in talks to secure between $15 and $20 million. Knight Fintech is also pursuing a round of funding, aiming for $20 to $25 million. What's really encouraging is that multiple prominent fintech companies are entering active late-stage funding negotiations. This is a clear sign of renewed confidence in the market and a strategic deployment of capital. Overall, we're seeing a significant revival in India's fintech sector after a slowdown that lasted about 2 years. This uptick in funding activity signals a positive shift and renewed optimism in the industry's growth trajectory. So the big picture here is that the fintech ecosystem is bouncing back strongly, with more capital flowing into promising startups, which bodes well for the sector's future. Let's take a closer look at the deal pipeline and the funding activities happening across these different sectors. Starting with SME B2B cross-border payments, this is an area seeing strong interest from investors like SIG and Asia VQ Capital. They're currently in negotiations, aiming to raise between $8 and $10 million. This segment is crucial because it facilitates international trade for small and medium-sized enterprises, which is a growing market. Moving on, Skydo is focusing on a different niche. It's a digital lending platform backed by NBFCs. They are targeting a funding range of $15 to $20 million, with Sumitomo Corporation as their key investor. This highlights the increasing role of NBFC-backed platforms in expanding digital financial services. Next, we have DMI Finance, which specializes in credit underwriting technology. They're in the process of raising between $20 and $25 million, with support from Momentum Ventures, Presses Capital, and Rising Asia Fund. Their technology aims to improve credit assessment processes, which is vital for expanding lending reach efficiently. Finally, let's look at the overall deal pipeline. It shows a vibrant landscape where various players are raising different amounts to fuel growth and innovation. These deals are not just about funding. They reflect broader trends in digital finance, cross-border payments, and credit technology, all aligned with the overall theme of transforming financial services through technology. Now, moving on to slide 4, let's look at some of the successful public listings in the fintech space. These IPOs not only validate the underlying business models, but also serve as liquidity events for early investors, boosting confidence across the sector. When a fintech company goes public, it signals to the market that their business is resilient and scalable. This helps attract more investment and encourages innovation. It's important to recognize that multiple fintech verticals are now demonstrating sustainable unit economics. We're seeing positive cash flow trajectories across various segments, which is a strong indicator of financial health and maturity. This shift towards profitability is key because it shows that these companies are not just growing at any cost, but are building solid, long-term viable businesses. Overall, these IPO success stories and the financial robustness of different fintech sectors are crucial drivers in the ongoing revival of the industry. They reinforce the idea that the sector is moving towards a more mature and sustainable phase, which benefits everyone involved, from founders and investors to customers and regulators. Now, moving on to slide 5, let's talk about how late-stage funding is making a strong comeback in areas like credit tech, SME payments, and regulated NBFCs. We're seeing a significant surge in capital inflows, which is a very positive sign for the ecosystem. One of the reasons for this boost is the lower regulatory risk premium that foreign institutional investors now perceive. This reduction makes investing here more attractive and less risky than before. With these changes, predictability in the sector is also increasing. This is thanks to clearer frameworks around payments, stricter data privacy rules, fintech licensing norms, and the RBI's digital lending guidelines. All of these measures help create a more stable and transparent environment, which is crucial for encouraging more investments. And all of these points tie back to the bigger picture. When the regulatory signals are clear and predictable, they build confidence among investors. This creates a solid pipeline of policy to investment, fostering a more robust and sustainable growth trajectory for the fintech and credit tech sectors. So, in essence, strong regulatory clarity is paving the way for increased investment and confidence in this space. Now, let's take a closer look at India's fintech sector and where it currently stands. We are at stage 4, which is characterized by policy-backed, disciplined growth. This phase signals a renewed investor appetite, as clear policies have helped restore confidence in the market. During this stage, we see investments becoming more profitability-focused, meaning investors are now more cautious, but also more strategic in their funding decisions. It's a phase of disciplined resurgence, where the sector is stabilizing and preparing for sustainable growth. However, it's important to remember that this phase isn't without its challenges. Risk aversion still dominates, leading to stalls in funding rounds and some compression in valuations. This reflects a more cautious approach from investors, who are weighing risks more carefully. Looking back, we've moved through several stages. From rapid growth with minimal regulation, which is stage 1, what we called the innovation boom. Then, as regulations started to tighten, we entered stage 2, regulatory tightening, with increased compliance and operational complexity. Next came stage 3, the capital freeze, where funding slowed significantly, and valuations were compressed as the sector faced increased scrutiny and risk. Now, in stage 4, we see a phase of disciplined growth, driven by clearer policies and a more cautious but confident investor environment. This cycle highlights the importance of understanding these stages to anticipate future trends and opportunities in fintech. Now, let's look at how we're measuring our efficiency and evaluating our key metrics. We track collections efficiency carefully to ensure cash flow remains healthy, while customer acquisition costs are scrutinized to understand how much we're spending to bring in new users. At the same time, NPA rates are analyzed thoroughly to monitor non-performing assets and manage risk effectively. We also examine our unit economics in detail to ensure each customer or product is contributing positively to the bottom line. All these efforts align with our current approach, which we call sustainable economics. This means we focus on building a solid, long-term foundation rather than chasing quick wins. However, it's important to note that this approach accepts regulatory arbitrage, meaning we sometimes leverage regulatory gaps while ignoring short-term profitability timelines. Instead, we prioritize user acquisition numbers and focus on revenue multiples that can boost our valuation in the market. Looking back, our earlier approach was all about growth at any cost. We pushed hard for rapid expansion, often at the expense of sustainability or profitability. But now, we're witnessing a real shift, the valuation model revolution. This new era emphasizes a balanced view, integrating these detailed metrics and strategic insights to create a more sustainable and resilient business model. It's about transforming how we think about growth and valuation, aligning our goals with long-term success. Together, these DPI rails form a unique competitive advantage that no other country currently possesses. They enable scalable, low-cost, and secure fintech innovation that can truly transform the financial landscape. Let's start with the Open Credit Enablement Network for SME Lending, or OCEN. This platform makes it easier for small and medium enterprises to access credit by streamlining the lending process and reducing costs. It's a game changer for fostering entrepreneurship and supporting small businesses. Next, we have DigiLocker, which provides secure digital document storage and verification. This digital vault simplifies how we handle official documents, making it faster and more secure to verify identities and credentials online. Then there's Aadhaar, our biometric identity system. It's used for authentication and KYC, or Know Your Customer processes. Aadhaar helps ensure secure, reliable identification, reducing fraud and making transactions more trustworthy. Finally, UPI, or Unified Payments Interface, creates a seamless payment infrastructure. It allows instant, easy, and secure transactions between individuals and businesses, transforming how we pay and receive money. When we look at these four pillars, OCEN, DigiLocker, Aadhaar, and UPI, they collectively build a robust digital public infrastructure. This infrastructure not only supports financial inclusion, but also creates a formidable moat, or competitive advantage, that encourages innovation and keeps India ahead in the digital economy. Now, let's look at some of the key risks we need to keep an eye on. First, there's the potential over-leverage in consumer credit segments, which could lead to broader financial stability concerns if not managed properly. Then, as digital lending grows, so do the rising costs associated with cyber insurance and data security, making cybersecurity a critical priority. We also face increased fraud risks within digital ecosystems, which require robust preventative measures. Additionally, the Reserve Bank of India has stepped up supervision and compliance audits, adding another layer of oversight that lenders must navigate carefully. Moving on to what we should monitor closely, technology integration stands out, especially the use of AI underwriting and digital process infrastructure, which are transforming lending operations. At the same time, there's a push to strengthen capital adequacy for regulated NBFCs, ensuring they can withstand shocks. We're also seeing innovative financial products tailored for underserved MSMEs, opening new opportunities but also presenting unique risks. Lastly, this evolving landscape is expected to generate jobs in lending operations and collections, which is a positive economic impact. Now, shifting to ecosystem opportunities, these challenges also create pathways for growth and innovation. By addressing these risks proactively, we can unlock new strategic opportunities and adapt to emerging challenges. This overall theme underscores the importance of balancing risk management with harnessing the immense potential of the digital lending ecosystem, ultimately driving sustainable growth in the financial sector. Let's wrap up with some key takeaways. India's fintech sector is now entering a phase of disciplined, policy-backed growth. This transition offers valuable lessons for students in finance, strategy, and technology, especially around how capital markets operate, how to evaluate risk-adjusted valuations, and how regulatory economics shape industry development. India's robust digital infrastructure creates unique opportunities for scalable and inclusive fintech innovation. This digital foundation enables startups and established players alike to reach underserved populations and expand rapidly. When we look at the DPI as a strategic advantage, it becomes clear that understanding how digital infrastructure impacts competitiveness is essential. It's not just about growth multiples anymore. Focusing on profitability metrics and sustainable unit economics is critical for long-term success. Another key point is the paradigm shift in valuation. Policy predictability reduces uncertainty, which in turn lowers risk premiums and makes the market more attractive to institutional investors. Clarity in regulation builds confidence and encourages capital inflow. So, for MBA students and future industry leaders, the overarching lesson is that a disciplined, well-regulated environment combined with digital infrastructure creates the perfect conditions for fintech innovation. By understanding these dynamics, you can better navigate and contribute to this evolving landscape.